So right now we are going to start off with the third module as per your syllabus, but it is actually the fourth module that is being covered. So as given in the headlines, we have those many topics to complete. And right now we are going to start off with pointers. So what is a pointer actually? So as per the definition, the pointer is one of the C++ programming language data type whose value refers or directly points to another value stored elsewhere in the computer memory using its address. So, like the name suggests, a pointer. A pointer basically points to another location from where a value has to be extracted. So, normally a pointer variable will be specified, and that pointer variable will be containing the address of the variable, which is highlighted by this particular line, the syntax. The pointer variable will be there, and it will be equivalent to the address, which is given as the ampersand of the variable. So I repeat, a pointer variable basically contains the address of a location which contains a variable and its value. So we'll try running this program. So if you look at this set of a program, you can see that the usual stuff is there. You have the main function. You have an integer I being declared, a variable I declared of the data type int, which stores a value 10. You have a pointer being declared. Now please note, a pointer will be declared in the format of int asterisk ptr. So asterisk basically represents the pointer notation, and ptr stands for the name of the pointer. And ptr basically stores the address of I. This is represented by ampersand of I. And then you are trying to display these many values. You have the value of I, which will be directly the variable I. Value of the pointer. Now what would be the value stored in pointer? It would be the address of I, so which will be displayed as ptr. Now what is the address of ptr? Now ptr would be having an address, just like I having an address. ptr also would be having an address. So what is being represented here is address of ptr and the ptr's value, the pointer's value. So what would be pointed by the ptr? ptr basically stores the address of I, and star ptr would be basically the content of that variable I. So right now we'll run a program and see what would be the output. So we have copied this particular program and we are bringing it to the compiler. So we'll try running it. And you can see the output of the program over here. So the first line is value of I, which will be displaying the value of I, which is 10. The second line will be value of ptr, which would be the address of I, which would again be represented by this variable ptr. So that is this address. You have address of pointer. Now pointer is again a variable. Now pointer will be having an address which will be given by the ampersand ptr. Again, that is an address specified over here, and a pointer's value, that will be star ptr. Star ptr will be also 10. I hope the idea of a pointer is clear. Now the next topic is the benefits of pointers. So when we look at the benefits of pointers, we have the 5 points listed out over there. Now the main aspect of a pointer is regarding the saving of memory. In programs we have done so far, the memory requirements might have been less. Like we just accessed a variable, we displayed the values and all those kind of things. But in practical scenarios, the program would be complexity would be such that it has to access files from another location. It has to be accessed and it has to be processed. Then it has to be placed back into the file or modified as per the situation. Like if you remember, we spoke of banking transactions earlier, and in those transactions we saw that if we are looking at the account details, your current account balance would be there. Suppose if it's 3,000 rupees, you're withdrawing 500 out of that, and immediately your balance must be converted to 2,500. It must be reflected back in your account statement and all those things. If you remember over there, extracting or bringing in all aspects of data to the program memory would be difficult, which is why to reduce the complexity we are considering the usage of pointers. By usage of pointers, we are basically specifying a memory location which can access that particular file and carry out the necessary data transactions. So basically saving of memory comes in the aspect where you don't have to import every files or every documents related to for the running of the program into the program memory. And just like that, it reduces the length as well as the complexity of the programs, and it allows passing of arrays and strings to functions more effectively, and basically all other advantages follow suit. So that makes the benefits clear. Now the next topic that we would be learning in continuation to this will be regarding pointer to objects. So just like variables, objects also have addresses, and a pointer can be pointed to a specific object. So now in the previous case what we saw was a pointer trying to access a variable. So when we talk about object oriented programming, basically our entire functioning of the program lies with objects, and for that matter, a pointer, it can be used in terms of object perspective also, and we are considering pointers to objects in this set of program. So if you look over here in this particular set of program, you can see that this has got a class called bill. It has got three data types included over here. You have a quantity QTY, which is of data type int. You have price, which is of data type float. You have amount, which is of data type float. You have a function over here, get data, which has got three arguments, int a, float b, and float c. And you have got the arguments being passed to the variables. A will be transferred to QTY, B will be transferred to price, and C will be transferred to amount in this set of code. And then the next function will be show, and what happens here is we'll be displaying quantity and the value, price and the value, amount as well as the value. Now coming to the main program, you can see that in the main program we are creating an object over here. Now this object is yes, and we are using a pointer for object concept over here. So you can see that a pointer is being introduced, which is a member of this class called bill again, and we have the star pointer, and basically it will be storing the address to the object. So here this pointer is referring to an object instead of a variable, and you can see that this pointer is trying to access this function get data and show. The already mentioned functions here, get data is mentioned and show is also mentioned. This pointer is trying to access these two functions, get data and show. Now if you look over here, this pointer is trying to access this function using two different operators. So one you see over here, which I am circling right now, this is the arrow operator, and what we have over here is the dot operator, which we used in previous examples and programs so far, where an object is basically accessing a function or a variable using dot operator. So here this arrow operator would be something new to you, which is something that you have to learn right now. And basically this program should be running and it will give you the desired output. So I'll copy the code and execute it. So let's make an analysis of what would be happening here in this particular program. So basically if you look over here, it mentioned that there are two functions, get data and show. And let us see what happens in the main function. In the main function, you can see that an object is being created over here called S, and we are using a pointer for this particular object S. Now, when you look at this particular program, you can see that this pointer is accessing an object, not a variable. So this is a concept of a pointer for objects. Now, we are accessing this function get data, And get data, as mentioned over here, it should be passing 3 arguments, 1 int and 2 float values, which is given here 45 20.25 as well as 45 into 10.25. That is quantity into price logic is applied over here, which would be 45 into 10.25, and we are passing the values over here. And then we have the start pointer dot show, which will be displaying these values. So when I run this program again, you can see that the output has come, that is 45, 10.25, which are the past values, and 461.25, which is the product of these two. Now, so I guess you have seen the output of this particular program, and it is available over here. Now, the most important thing that we have to, what we were speaking about, is regarding the arrow operator and dot operator. So basically, these are two methods by which, or two operators by which you can access the functions over here. Now, if you look over here, this PTR is, if you're directly using the variable name as PTR, you can use the arrow operator. If you are using the pointer identity, you have to use the dot operator. Now I will show if we are just replacing it with star PTR, and if we try running this particular program, it will result in an error. So basically the point is you have to access the function using arrow operator using only the pointer variable name and not the asterisk sign, not the pointer. So that was run and show. And if we have to, we are changing this to just PTR, and we are trying to access it using the dot operator. Again, it will result in an error. So the point that you have to note here is, if you're using the arrow notation or the arrow operator, you have to just use the variable name, and if you are using the dot operator, you have to use the pointer identity also, star PTR. And I run this program once again, and it works fine. So I hope the idea of this pointer for an object is clear. We started off with the basic concepts of a pointer, what it basically does, and that was with perspective of a variable. So in this topic right now, we are talking about pointers to objects, and we have seen here that this, in this set of line, bill star PTR equal to ampersand s. This s is basically an object. So we have a pointer that is pointing to a object, and using this pointer, we, on behalf of the object, we are calling the functions get data as well as show, and we are running this program and we get the output. So I hope those concepts are clear.